Welcome in, builders. This week we're taking a look at Late Age Gath, Last of the Giants. I love that they still keep their hubris all the way through, claiming that they are the last of the giants. Gath is a dry land that has only recently recovered from the devastation caused by its earlier inhabitants. For ages, the land has been dominated by giants, but under constant pressure from human immigrants and the Abyssian tide of fire, the original inhabitants of the land were forced to retreat and watch as city after city was destroyed. Now, there is but one city left, Gath, the city of giants. The Gittite descendants of the Anakites of Ashdod still dominate the surrounding lands and have subjugated several human tribes. While the human tribes comprise much of the population of the kingdom, the Gittites are the undisputed rulers of the land. By keeping ironworking from the human population, and through strict, centralized cult focused around bloody sacrifices at the Great Temple, the Gittites have kept control of the land. The Gittites are small compared to the ancient Raphaim, but still large by human standards. Again, we have more humanization of the late age, and you can see it here in this roster how quite a few of these are definitely humans and not giants, although we do maintain quite a few giant units, especially up in our leadership positions. For national features, we have Gittite giants and humans. We prefer heat scales of +1. Our military is comprised of Gittite infantry, several different human tribes with different skills. For magic, we have fire, earth, astral, blood, nature, death. Most of these only go up to about 2 and not even very reliably unless we're talking on a cap only mage. So this is a little bit deceptive on what they're claiming they're good at. I think this is one of the weaknesses here in this nation. Our priests are medium with a powerful priest out of the capital. We have sacred Gibrite giants who can perform blood sacrifices. For scales and blesses, we have a heat limit of +1. Our buildings are giant forts, so a little more expensive, a little better than a standard fort, but our temples cost 1,200 gold. This is like how expensive fortifications usually cost, and this is actually pretty significant. I don't know if this nation really needed to be slapped with that. I can see that when we talk about units, maybe there's a reason, but this is quite painful. It's often in the early game you kind of scrimp and save and manage to get down your infrastructure. And this is the cost of a lab and a temple for most other nations. And we're only getting half of that. Pretty significant little thing here. For sites, we have 2. We have the Palace of the Sage King. This allows us to get our cap only leader and giant sacred. And we have the Temple of the Sage King, cap only mage priest, and gives us 2 astral pearls, a fire gem, and an earth gem. Units and sacreds. We have a relatively human lineup here. A lot of these are, let's just say, quite questionable. Starting us off, we have a Rubinite archer. This is a late age archer that is a human that has wasteland survival, and he wields a short bow and a bronze dagger, armored in a leather cuirass and a crested helmet. It's late age, buddy. It's time to put the short bow down, man. It's time to move on. Not particularly useful. Maybe we're stuffing forts. 8 gold, 7 resources, 5 recruitment is pretty cheap. He is the equivalent of like a militia unit because he has 8 morale. Not very impressive here at all. Next up, we have a Naphtali Spearman. The Naphtali Spearman has a bronze spear and a javelin. Again, human chassis with wasteland survival. He's at least up armored a little bit. He's got a ringmail cuirass, a crested helmet, and a shield. However, that ringmail cuirass is only 8 chest protection. Not very impressive. These are 10 gold, 11 resources, 9 recruitment points. In the very early game, I do get these just to fill in body space, but I'm not counting on them to do much. Their 10 attack with 13 piercing damage on their bronze spears is significantly lower than that 16 ideal that I feel is what you need to be competitive on the line. They do have javelins, but a javelin thrown by a human with 12 piercing damage, that's unlikely to hurt anything beyond barbarian indies. Next, we have a Benjamite Slinger. This one at least is a little more interesting in the fact that maybe as counter battery to enemy crossbows, these are relatively cheap. They have the range 30, so they're going to get a little closer and thus be a little more accurate than the short bows. We have 15 ammunition, although -2 precision because it's a sling apparently, although slings are proven to be quite accurate if you know what you're doing, so I don't know about that one. He has Wasteland Survival, he's a Pillager, and he is ambidextrous. He does dual wield bronze swords, so maybe these guys on the flanks and on something like fire and keep distance enemy archers, but they're going to get chased away right away. So maybe just fire at enemy archers, trying to take out crossbowmen, and when something inevitably comes to kill them, 12 attack with 14 piercing and slashing damage. That's at least something. The 14 is a little disappointing, but they have good attack, so maybe they could hold off against some light things that would come after them. Next, we have the Gath Swordsman. This is a human again with Wasteland Survival and Fire Resistance 5, wielding a bronze sword that he's pretty good with, and he's actually done his training, so he is a little bit better than human HP and strength, which helps a ton. So this bronze sword has 11 attack and 15 piercing slashing damage. This is at least close. He does have a javelin. Again, that little bit of extra strength helps him out a little bit there. I'm not impressed with human javelins in late age. He wears a brawn halberd, a crested helmet, and has a shield. These guys, acceptable, I suppose. I'm not excited about them. I kind of wish they didn't have the javelin because that's just going to make them spread out as they move forward and throw those rather than stay in a nice line. Not exceptional. Not exceptional. Next, we have the Zabulonite Soldier. The Zabulonite Soldier, it has a bronze spear, length 3, 11 attack, 13 damage. He has the Wasteland Survival. He has Formation Fighter, wearing bronze scale halberd, a crested helmet, and has a shield. Here's my version that doesn't have the javelin. However, his damage is only 13. If this was 15, I would be a lot more interested. They do have Formation Fighter, although I question the use here. So we're going to be densely packed so that we can get AoE'd more efficiently. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there because we're not killing anything with 13 piercing damage, unfortunately. Next, we have the Asherite Soldier. Finally, something that looks pretty decent for late age. This is pricey. 15 gold, 27 resources, 21 recruitment points. Has slightly better than human stats, but is definitely human. Wielding a broadsword, 12 attack, 16 slashing damage. Okay, now we're up to standard with a good attack. Armored in a full chainmail, a crested helmet, and a tower shield. This is good enough. You actually might be able to soak some crossbows, especially with that tower shield with high parry being able to block them. We'll be okay. We could take that. We round out to about 17 protection, but that nice tower shield really is going to hold it. We're very slow at 7 combat speed. We have a slow map move at 8, and we have really high encumbrance at 8. So these guys are going to poop out pretty quick, but as somebody to arrow catch for you and actually at least be able to swing a few times on the front line with that broadsword, I like these a lot. They're hard to get out, though. That's a lot of resources and a decent amount of recruitment points for essentially a human troop. Next, we have the Zabulonite Hornblower. This is a standard effect, 20 gold, 16 resources, 21 recruitment points. Standard effect gives you +1 morale for having one in your unit. It does not stack amongst itself, so if you have 5 Hornblowers, you still only get +1. You probably do want more than one, though, because they are likely to get themselves killed, unfortunately. But it can help. Morale is 13 here, just to review. We start with 8 with the really bad guy, but after that, we went up to 10, 10, 11, 13, 12. So we're not bad morale, but better morale is almost always better. These do not have wall breaker or siege bonuses, though, should be noted. We don't have any of that cool stuff here. Next, we have the Gittite Soldier. Finally, some giant troops. 25 gold, 22 resources, 15 recruitment points. You get giant stats, 24 HP, 15 strength, and he's pretty decently trained with 11 attack and 13 defense. Has fire resistance and wasteland survival. wielding a length 3 spear. I really wish this was length 4. 11 attack, 18 piercing damage, so that's okay. Get some repels in there. That's fine. Has a javelin. Now, this is a giant with a javelin. Now I'm a little bit more okay with it. 17 piercing damage is not stellar, especially if people are already trying to find things that will resist crossbows, but you could actually nail some human troops pretty decently with that. Scale mail halberd, crested helmet, shield, decent protection. Note that that ends up giving us 14 on the body, so a little below where we'd like to see. These are size 4 though, which means you can have him and 2 humans share a space, or 2 giants. If you do the trick where you go recruitment, giant, human, giant, human, when you put those guys in the same group, it'll make them share the square. If I queue up 10 humans and 5 giants, it'll separate them like that. Now we get up to some interesting stuff, our sacreds. We have a recruit anywhere sacred, the Levite Zealot. Unfortunately, he's not exciting. If this guy was in early era, he would still be a pretty mediocre sacred, and it's the late era. He's 15 gold, 17 resources, 14 recruitment points, has basic human stats, has good morale, is sacred, has wasteland survival, has a patrol bonus. We do have some blood in our nation, but we are probably never going to get to be a blood superpower. We just don't have efficient blood searchers or efficient blood casters. So that's unfortunate. We're wielding a bronze sword, 11 attack with 14 piercing slashing, and we are equipped with bronze gear, giving us a 12 on the body, 14 on the head with just a normal shield. These aren't misery, and they are a recruit anywhere sacred. So if you want to use them, which I think you do, you probably need to find a way to give them some more strength. If you could get this strength up to 16, at least they would be a bad line troop. And that would be like the minimum, right? So that is definitely a needs to be fixed thing. Other things to think about, because these are recruit anywhere, you could get them in really large numbers. So blesses that are really good for lots of units. So I'm thinking like auras maybe, although most of our troops are not fire resistance, which was my first like, oh, what could you take a heat aura? Well, you maybe, I don't know. Next up, we have our capitalny sacred, the Gibor. This is a giant sacred. He is still size 6, 70 gold, 43 resources, 23 recruitment points. Actually not really breaking the bank for a giant sacred, frankly. He is sacred, fire resistance 5, wasteland survival. He is a glutton, but population's so high in late age, that's not really a problem. He's wielding an Anikite sword, which is a great weapon. It's magic. It's length 2. You get a surprising amount of repels. A lot of people are running around with length 1 swords in late age. So that's quite nice. And he's good with it. 13 attack. 27 slashing damage is excellent. That's good enough that you can start hitting gods that are trying to do shenanigans. He's armored in a skill mail halberd, a bronze cap, and a shield. Little unfortunate there. That's only 14 body protection. And fire large enemy monsters exists. So people will try to hose these down. But they have 38 HP, they are armored at least, and they do have a shield, so they're not horrific, but they're definitely going to suffer under the withering fire of crossbows, like basically everything in late age. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. For heroes, we have 2. We have Nabi. This is just a priest level 2. He's a size 3 dude. I guess he's cosplaying as a giant. Okay. Then we have the Sibyl of Hermon. Pretty good here, actually. Astral 3 is basically our highest astral. Nature 4 is basically our highest nature. She is a giant. She does have Fortune Teller 20 and Healer 2. Not unique things. We have those other places, but she's fine. This can help actually summon in some of our national spells. I think she does need a booster to do it, but she definitely could. She's fine. Nothing too exciting here. Going up to our main commander line, we have the Isakarite Scout. This is a human scout. It is costing 35 gold, 6 resources, 1 recruitment point, so standard. Slightly better than a normal scout, though, because he is stealthy 55, has wasteland, mountain, and forest survival, so that's something. We have the Isakarite Sage. This is nation-defining, frankly. It's unfortunate that our mage lineup is a little lackluster because you can actually do a lot of research on this nation. 60 gold, 2 resources, 1 recruitment point. He is a mage in theory. He has a 10% chance to get Fire, Earth, Astral. Don't count on that. What his claim to fame is, he has 6 research ability, and he's a mundane researcher. Mundane researchers are not affected by drain, which means that we can dump drain scales for some juicy points. Also will give us a little extra magic resistance, which is appreciated. He only has morale 7, so he's not looking to go into combat, but he only costs 24 gold per year. 24 gold for 6 research is excellent. You're not even paying, but it's like 5 gold per research, give or take. That's great. And you could pump this up higher via some experience, via some boosters. Quite good here. And do note, 1 recruitment point means that at a Citadel, you can get 3 of these per turn. 3 of these per turn is only 180 gold for 18 research, and you're only costing yourself 72 gold per year in upkeep. That is really efficient research. In the test game behind us here, I got just a few of them out in the early game. Basically, if I didn't need a leader to bring reinforcements to the front, I grabbed 3 of these guys, and my research was actually banging. I was actually kind of struggling to get mages out to use the magic because I was actually researching a lot quicker than I had kind of anticipated. They are old age, which isn't great, but at least they're super cheap, and we have recruitable healers on this nation. So healers can keep the old guys going. He's trying to retire, and we're just saying, nope, keep researching. Next, we have the Benjaminite Commander. This is a human commander. He's only got 50 leadership. He has Wasteland Survival, Pillager, Ambidextrous. So if you want to do something pillagey with those, I believe they're the slingers that have that, this is your leader. I mean, he's actually a good fighter, ironically enough. 13 attack, 2, and he's dual wielding with Ambidextrous. Maybe you could make, like, I don't know, some cheap, cheeky battlefield thugs or something. I don't know. I wish this guy had a little bit better stats. Like maybe you give him like a coral sword and then like an AoE weapon in his other hand and then a piece of armor and a shield. Or no, I guess you couldn't shield. I don't know. I wish we could use him because he's kind of cool. That's a lot of attack. His leadership skills, well, apparently he's a gym bro. He doesn't work on his leadership, so a little unfortunate there. Next, we have the Gittite Commander. Probably our bread and butter commander. Do note, if you're not leading any giant troops around and you only have humans, fire enemy large monsters might be able to target him out with your crossbows, so just be aware of that. 115 gold, 25 resources, 1 recruitment point, gets you a giant commander with 100 leadership, fire resistant, and has wasteland survival. He has a broadsword that's fine, he's armored, okay, he's on that 14 protection, which is a little bit low, unfortunately. But he's fine. He's an okay leader. Watch out for getting picked out. The Levite Priest is our priest level 1, sacred, has wasteland survival, 65 gold, 2 resources, 1 recruitment point. Basically an indie priest. Nothing too much to say about that. The Isakarite Sibyl, a great mage. Arguably, probably our best combat mage. Very cheap. 90 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points. She's lower than normal human stats, has good magic resistance, and low morale. This can be a problem, but it also can be a blessing that they'll run away before things go really bad. Maybe. She comes in with Astral 1, Nature 1, 9 research, Wasteland Survival, a supply bonus from her nature, and Fortune Teller 10. We do have spammable Fortune Teller, so maybe we could also dump Misfortune if you wanted to. This is at least usable in combat. Astral 1 and Nature 1 are arguably 2 of the pathings that a level 1 mage is actually useful. If nothing else, she can do Body Ethereal. She could do Bark Skin. For herself, she could Eagle Eyes. She could animate a tree. We could do either summon Power the Spheres, or we could do a Light of the Northern Star, which would take them all up to Astral 2. Then we could spam Mind Burn or some of the other lower end astral spells. That would be okay. That would be all right. We also can Communion Up. If we Communion Up, unfortunately, there's nothing super exciting here, but just better nature spells, better astral spells. That's totally fine. Easy access to that is always appreciated. and especially on a relatively cheap mage. And ideally for me, I think I'd drop the nature, and then that would lower her price down to like probably 80 or 75. And a cheap Astral 1 mage is like one of my favorite combat mages, but this is fine. This is totally usable. She gives us that extra food just in case we need it. She has some utility with the fortune teller. I like these quite a bit. Do note that morale could be a little spooky, and they're not sacred. Next, we have ABBA. That's a pretty good band. 245 gold, 2 resources, 2 recruitment points. Is a giant chassis mage, which is nice. You won't die to like a single hit from a bow or something, or an imp lands on you and you just die. He's okay. He comes in with 2 nature and a random of fire, earth, astral. Those randoms are not the best for cross-pathing, but they're not misery either. Especially, I would say probably the earth can be a little more defensive. The astral gives him the astral utility. He could be the leader of a communion with a few of those Sibyls. If you wanted to do some big nature, he just gives you a little bit of advantage there. If you do that, consider doing enlarge self, which would make your Sibyls bigger and give them more HP, help them stay alive a little bit. Again, not sacred. Has fire resistance, is stealthy 50, wasteland survival supply bonus, is a heretic 1. Remember, heretic 1 is like preaching, but getting rid of your own, or getting rid of a candle. It doesn't necessarily your own candle. That is a little bit worrisome. Be careful. If you had like 5 of these guys in your capital, you might drain all your candles down. So just be aware of that. But he is stealthy and he is a heretic. So you could send him behind enemy lines and have him do that. Would I send that expensive a mage on a heretic duty? Probably not, unless I was really pushing to dom kill somebody, but it's an option. He does have healer, but it's only healer 1. I like these guys a lot. If you want some early combat support, he can help you out. For himself, he can personal bark skin, eagle eyes, he could do tangle vines, he could animate trees, he could do vine arrow, he could give bark skin to your front line, which they would quite like, especially our guys who have fire resistance and don't have to worry about the fire penalty. Overall, not bad. I do wish his healer was a little bit higher, but this is fine. It's usable. Next, we have Kohen. This is our priest level 2s. Do note we have recruit anywhere sacred, so we are going to have to think about blessing, although we do have a recruitable holy 3, so if you can get those guys out, they can make it easy, but if not, this is your guide to do it. He is blood 1, priest 2, has a random of fire, earth, astral. 9 research for 72 gold is efficient, but you're probably not doing this. We have that other guy who's just so much more efficient. Has fire resistance, wasteland survival, and he can join in Grand Communicant. That means if we do a ritual with a Grand Communicant, we can essentially communion up into a ritual, which acts as if we're spending extra gems to protect it from being dispelled, or adding length to it, I believe. Next, we have the Yadoni. This is another giant mage, 180 gold, has Earth 1, Death 1, and a random of Fire, Earth, Astral, Death. Couple things here. Earth 2s, very useful. They can go up to Earth 3s easily and do temper armor. Strength of Giants would help our human troops out a lot. They would really appreciate that. Same thing with weapons of sharpness or stunning weapons. Really good buffs that they would really appreciate. We could also do protection buffs, but maybe we do the bark skin. Maybe we use the earth stuff, just depending, I suppose. A death 2 is required for one of our national spells, so it's nice that we have that natively. If you got the fire, maybe you could get up into some magma stuff, but his other pathing isn't great. Unfortunately, this is just a very wide path mage, and a lot of these aren't stellar at rank 1, unfortunately. Overall, usable. You'll probably get at least a few of them, especially to do that national spell, or just fishing for some earth mages. Next, we have Serene. This is our cap-only sacred commander. He is a true giant. He's still size 6. Only 280 gold. Not actually that bad for what you get in here. Good giant stats. He is a mage technically, but only 20% of them get a fire, an earth, or an astral. Obviously, if you get that, he's way more valuable as a thug. Fire shield would just be nice. The earth buffs for protection, obviously. Being able to body ethereal himself would be nice. Quite good there. He is wielding that Anakite sword, has a crescent helm, Anakite armor, and a shield, giving him 15 on the head and 18 on the body with a shield. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. He is sacred, so you could make some kind of bless that would let these guys thug. I don't think that would be the worst, but just know you're not a mage thug, which is kind of what usually makes thugs really good, is that they can self-buff up into something crazy. But maybe you get a few of these guys. They have 150 leadership, so they could lead your main armies. And then if you luck into, probably especially the Earth, frankly, you could do personal iron skin and temper flesh, and that would make these guys very, very tough and a really good thug. But they have a magic weapon. They are armored. Maybe give them like a brace or a protection, and maybe that's enough to kind of let him lightly thug. I don't know. I'd like to see some good thug builds for these guys because I think they could do it. I think they could do it. Now, he is competing with capital-only recruitment with the Kohen Gadol. This is our holy priest level 3, comes in with 2 blood, and gets a linked 2-path, 100%, and a 10% of either fire or earth or astral. So you're guaranteed to get 2 fire or 2 earth or 2 astral. Those are all very useful. Those are all pathing levels that are good enough. So you could Phoenix power or you can summon earth power, and then you can really go to town. The fire ones could do flaming arrows for you, which if you're going to use those ranged troops, that would be very helpful because they're piddly early era technology, human strength, range weapons just ain't going to do it. The earth ones could do something similar with tempering armor and being able to do giant strength. So that could be something. You're definitely going to probably use these guys because they give you priest level 3s for blessing all those sacreds that you're hopefully going to be producing and having something okay on their bless. Do note that he requires 2 holy points to recruit. Our other sacreds did not get that penalty. So he's our only one, I believe. Yeah, he's our only one that does require 2 sacred points, but just be aware of that. He is slow to recruit. So yeah, he's going to take some oomph, but he is a priest level 3. He is our best blood. He is our best guaranteed linked pathing mage. Is pricey at that 540, and his upkeep 216 is actually not terrible for what you're getting here. Do note he also has that fear of the flood. So if somebody makes it rain, he gets a massive morale penalty. I believe it's like -4 or something pretty ridiculous, and he just keeps getting hit by it. So that is something a little bit spooky. Has wasteland survival, is a glutton, is a grand communicant. I think these guys mostly are going to be used for their peace levels. Do remember we can do blood sacrifices. So for doing that, that would be useful here. As you saw, we only have him and him as our blood guys. So expensive blood hunters are not the best, but I do think you probably want to do at least a little bit of light blood hunting. We can do some summons. I don't think we can really get the factory going very efficiently, but having the option to craft some blood items, like say an imp to help our super cheap researchers. An imp giving you +3 research is 50% bonus on a sage, just to throw that out there. And we don't have Alquil availability, so might be something to consider nice and early and really pump that research up. In addition to that, we can do the blood sacrifices, which maybe you want to do. That could be useful to you, especially because our temples are 1200. That's a very expensive temple. It's going to suck when you have to start spamming that, especially in single player where the AI is going to spam temples everywhere and be pushing on your dominion. Maybe that's a little bit cheaper than trying to temple spam using that blood sacrifice. Who would I make my prophet? I believe our starting commander is a Gittite commander. I would probably do him because you're probably going to need that oomph to get going. Unfortunately, we start with, I believe they are Zebulonite soldiers and Naphtali spearmen. That is not an expansion force for late age. That's full of crossbows and heavy cav and heavy infantry. It's going to suck a little bit. In most of my games, I tried to wait a turn or maybe even 2 worth of Gibbors to help me expand because I was just so sketch on using these guys. I had crossbows, for example, in this game, I had crossbows in every single province around my capital. So I used the humans to arrow catch. The giants were able to filter in behind them. Do note that your sacreds are size 6, so they can push to the front. So I had very cheap humans in front, and they would charge in, mostly taking the crossbow fire, and then my giants would arrive and shove their way to the front, so it would be a giant and a human sharing the space. These guys did just fine during expansion, as long as I kept the crossbows from focus firing them. once that started happening, I didn't actually lose very many, but they started building up crippling amounts of afflictions pretty quickly. Other than him, I don't think there's anyone else here I'd really want to make my profit. I suppose if I had one, a Serene could be good. Again, watch out for that fire enemy large enemy monsters, though. And we could go up to a priest level 4 on a Kohen Gadol, but I don't think it's needed. We're not having ridiculous problems, and we do have recruitable priest 2s if you really want to spam Sermons of Courage. That would be fine. And we do have a really good leader, which gives a +2. And even our standard leader is going to give a +1. I don't think we're going to have the worst leadership problems. In fact, our leadership problems is the morale of our leaders more than anything else. National items and spells. As for national items, we have no national items. I will call out, we do have some minor blood, so Sanguine Dousing Rod if you want to go that route. And the Imp Familiars would be something of interest there. Some thug gear for our relatively thuggable guys could be interesting. Nothing too crazy out of the ordinary, I would say here. Going into our national spells, we actually have quite a few. Starting at Conjuration 3, we have Summon Mazakim. These are the nature imps, essentially. We'll look at these once we're done with the summons. We have Call Malik. A Malik is a messenger from the celestial sphere. In human form, it's winged and dressed in a white robe. At 5, we have Summon Lilot. This is a nature succubus, essentially. Not the worst, and our hero can natively summon that. I do appreciate that. I will say we also can call Malik natively, so again, big props for being able to do that. Call Hashmel at 6. Call Arel at 7, call Ofan at 8, and call Murakova at 9. Let's go look at those summons so I don't forget. Here we are. So starting us off with the Mazik. Mazik are nature imps, essentially. They are actual demons, even though they're nature imps. They function exactly the same. Hold and attack rear would be a good distraction for some enemy crossbowmen. Maybe you'd spend nature gems on that. That might actually be worthwhile. The Lilith is the nature succubus, has dream seduction, is size 4, so can fly away with human-sized mages if she can seduce them. The Malik is here. It's a priest level 1. It does have awe. It is invulnerable. Has shock, fire resistance, is a magic being. Can fly, is stealthy, has praise. Praise allows you to raise dominion up to 1 per month, but it never raises above the ability. So you could raise your dominion up to 4, essentially. It could be useful. We do have heretics. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. I guess you could get a few of these. That is a relatively rare ability, I suppose. Could you make this a thug? Probably not. Human-ish stats, slightly better. Does have invulnerability 15, so if you put armor on this, that would stack. So you could actually get to like mid-20s, I suppose. I don't know about that, though. That's pretty iffy, and it costs astral pearls to summon them. Beyond those, the Ofen is a very interesting unit. It is a priest level 3. It is ethereal and a trampler. Do note, ethereal nerfs your trampling. Has a high fire shield, has praise 8. That's actually vaguely interesting. Is a magic being. Has a flame strike. Flame strike is an AoE 1 attack. And this is an ethereal unit that actually has 21 protection. So that's going to make it relatively tough. And it doesn't have spirit form. So you could buff the protection some more. That could actually make it pretty interesting. As I mentioned, the Ethereal Trample is a bad combo, but we're also combining that with a high fire shield. So I actually think these guys could be relatively effective. You could, I guess, Divine Bless and then hold and attack rear. You fly in and then start trampling and fire shield killing bodyguards. I don't know. That's kind of expensive in my book. We have the Chayot. This is that high-end summon. These can shapeshift between their different forms. They're all mages, so Astral 4, Air 4, that does give us air access, Fire 4, and Earth 4. All those are interesting. They come in with 4 Ophens at their side, so that's pretty powerful. Those would hopefully jump in there and just cause all kinds of mayhem on the board. They come natively as priest level 4s. If you did make one of these your profit, then that would take him up to priest level 5, giving you the chance to raise all your priest level 1s to 2s. Would be interesting. They are Dominion Spreader 1. That means they act like they're a temple, essentially. They're also continuously blessed, so they're auto-blessed. Yeah, he shape changes between himself. Very good, but they come so darn late. I don't know if you really see a lot of use from that. The Hashmel. This is a priest level 2. Again, has the invulnerability, has the ethereal. This one does not have protection. Is an Inquisitor, so you could use this to push out enemy domain, and does have praise 5, so quite good at doing that. Maybe you could get one of these guys to clean up enemy dominion as you're conquering. Could be useful. We haven't hit Fossilized Warrior. This is over in Enchantment. This is Enchantment 5. I like these a lot. This requires 2 death and an earth, so we can do it natively. And you get, I think it's like 5 plus half level. We'll pull it up here in a second. 17 HP with 26 protection. Not terrible. They have Poor Amphibian, they're Pierce Resistance, Fire Resistance, Cold Resistance, Poison Resistance. They are undead. These are fossilized giant bones. They're magic beings, inanimate, never heals, and has Spirit Sight. A 12 attack with 26 blunt damage is not actually terrible. Size 6 means they can push to the front, which I love. I absolutely love that mechanic. So our humans can be out front. These guys can push their way through and actually get the kills. That's great. They are wearing a fossilized Hallberg, which contributes to that protection. Note that their head is only 20 protection, but still pretty darn nice there. Finally, we do have some blood summons, the Shed and the Sahir. The Sahir are really good demon summons. Very, very nice. Nation defining on some nations, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get the Blood Factory pumping hard enough to really push these guys. Another weakness, when you summon them, you only get 2. So it's very mage turn inefficient to summon these, and we don't get a better spell for it. We also have Shed. Shed are just a variety of Storm Demon, essentially. They have Storm Power, Storm Immunity themselves. They throw lightning bolts. They're good, but I don't know if we actually get to use them very much. Just to show that off here, here's Enchant 5. Memories of Stone is our fossilized. 10 Death Gems. You do get 5 plus of them. So if you have a high Death Pretender, maybe, that could be pretty efficient, but you need to have some death income, which we don't natively have at least. In Evocation and Evo 4, we have Strange Fire. This is Astral 2, Fire 1. Not going to be overly common for us. We'd have to get pretty lucky to get that. If you did get it, it's AoE 3, range 40 plus. Low fatigue cost, good damage. Does triple against undead and demons. It's an okay spell. There's other options. And like I said, we don't really have great access to Astral 2 Fire 1 mages. In Blood, here's our Scapegoats at level 3. For 8, we get 2 of them. That's a little iffy. Now, at least we can do them with our lower Blood Mages, but the lower Blood Mages are still not exactly cheap. So I don't know. I like these guys, and we do have tons of Sacreds. And we probably, whatever we end up with our Blessed will probably be pretty good for these guys. So it is usable, but like I said, I just don't see us getting enough income to really make this go. We also have the Shedim at 4. Now, unfortunately here, we do not have this cross path natively. Blood 3 and in Air, you only get 3 of them for 28. So you're looking at like a Pretender or an Aaron power. I just don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening. Now, one thing I might consider, we have plenty of Nature 2 mages. Maybe we would empower twice to have somebody be able to run around and do Blood Fecundity just for that extra growth plus 2. I could see that. I could see that. And that's pretty close if you do want to get Scapegoats. Could maybe make something out of that. We do have Fire 2, and we do have Fire 2 on a chassis that has blood. So we can do Devil Summons with our big guys. Maybe, but do we want a slow to recruit, cap only, Holy 3 mage sitting around summoning 1 devil per turn? I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. I just don't think blood's particularly great for us. I think we're more interested maybe in the blood constructions that we can do. Okay, let's bring all that together. Late Age Gath is an interesting nation. We do have some viable giant troops that are left. We have some okay to decent human troops and a lot of relatively trashy human troops. We are mundane researchers, which makes scales very interesting. You can see here I went Drain 2, Misfortune 1. And here's my research core. Very cheap. Remember, 60 gold each. And once they have a level of experience, they go up to 7 research. So this guy with an imp would be at 10 research each for 60 gold, 24 per year. That is really cheap research. Now, unfortunately, what are you going to use that research on? Well, here's the mages I was able to get out for a early war with Pirine. Not exactly the most impressive stuff. Yeah, you can see I just don't have a ton around. Now, we do have those Recruit Anywhere Sacreds. I don't have a temple there. Recruit Anywhere Sacreds. So I am starting to get those produced. I have quite a few giants that I've been pumping from my capital. And you can see my main army here is sitting around with 41 of them. Not terrible considering I've been in a war. And these are survivors from expansion also. Not the worst considering. I do have had a healer or 2 with them the whole time. So very expensive infrastructure. That's pretty good. Temples that are frankly overpriced. That hurts a little bit. Decent troops, but they're expensive. I think we're looking for both scales and a bless. So we're probably looking at something maybe imprisoned is kind of my thought. While we're not the best expanders, we can do it. I don't think we need an awake expander. And an awake expander, unless he has a really good bless that's going to help out our sacreds, I think that's kind of a waste here when we probably want to go pretty heavy into our blessing. For Pretender and Scales design, we actually have a pretty decent variety here. Starting in Dom 1, I would say the callouts I would say is Great Enchantress because she can be a gem gen. I find that very valuable in late age where gems are kind of scarce. We do have the Crone, but yeah, I've never been a fan of her. The Great Sage could be interesting. He brings in the Inspiring Researcher +1. With the amount of cheap researchers we're going to get, I mean, that's not terrible. If he's sitting in your capital and your capital is recruiting 3 guys per turn, that's an extra 3 research per turn for the rest of the game. Now, are you going to want an awake guy? I don't know. I don't know. This would be a very light bless. The thing that pops in my head would be maybe a blessing ethereal, but we can, that's like one of the spells we can actually do in combat is body ethereal. So I don't know. Our giant sacreds also have magic weapons. So that's kind of out. I'm not certain on him. Going up to Dom 2s, we do have some of the good expanders. We got the Bulls, we got the Golden Lion, Dave the Lion. I do like that build. I don't think it would be great here, unfortunately. I really wish that Moloch was affordable. He's such a cool chassis, but 310 points, man, that just ain't it. That just ain't it. You could definitely expand with a Scorpion King. The Griffins and stuff can do it. Maneater's a pretty good expander if you can afford him. But I think we are going to be looking at more scales and more blessings. We do have the Son of the Fallen. This is a giant kind of unique chassis. He's a blood 3. We have kind of the Eastern Titans and the Mediterranean, Mesopotamian, and some African ones. Of note here, I would say the Ilhat of Fate is only 170 points and does come in with Astral 3 and a Fortune Scale. Fortune Scale doesn't do much, but Astral 3 means you can get very high Astral pretty cheap. 60 for another Magic Path is eh. And she does have Fortune Teller 50. So if she was sitting in your capital, she could protect that from some bad Misfortune Scales, I guess. So you'd be Misfortune 1. I don't know. Anunnaki of Love and War. This can be an interesting chassis. That's an interesting set here. You could do Personal Mistform, Personal Iron Skin, Temper Flesh. That could be kind of interesting on her. If you want air, these 2 chassis could bring some air into it. Again, I'm just not a huge fan of Titans. I feel like they're just so overpriced for the most part. Great Mother. Again, what are you going to take for your bless if you did take her? She's so expensive. Moving up to Dom 4s, we do have the Bronze Colossus. Some people swear by that. We have the Divine Glyph. Excellent chassis. 90 points because we get a discount here. Comes in with Fire and 2 Astral. You can do something with that. You could definitely make a usable bless. He comes in Ethereal. He does have Spirit Form, so you can't bless him. Sight Vengeance is really high. You're probably looking at using him as a caster maybe, but do remember, no map move. You'd have to teleport in, so be very careful. Probably not looking at moving him around, but making good blesses is definitely possible here. It's only 40 for a new path, so you could really crank this into something interesting. And I feel like that's probably worth it because he's only 90. That's actually cheaper than a Great Sage. So if we were only going to add one path here, we could knock 20 off. So it's only 20 for the first new path. I'm air quoting myself here. So if you were doing Fire, Astral, and something else, this is a nice chassis, I do feel. And you start with that Dom 4 strength, which is nice. Remember, we are probably going to want a decent Dom score because we do have Recruit Anywhere humans, which are cheap and plentiful. If we wanted to go high Earth, we have several options here. We do have the Golden Idol, another one I do like. It is 110, so a little more pricey than him. He brings in Earth 2 and a Blood. That can be pretty nice. Again, just very cheap chassis. If you're going high Earth, if you want some Blood in your Bless, very nice there. It's only 40 for a new path. Can be teleported if you do take Astral, but just be careful with that, obviously. We had an oops in, I think it was early age, but I almost got my Golden Calf killed, getting too excited about showing off that you can jump into combats. And okay, chassis, do remember these have a Nep Smith up here in the top, so just be warned if you're planning on making boosters, you need to make sure you're high enough. Let's take a look at a couple actual builds of things that I used. Okay, I got two for you here. First is Samon. Samon is focused around being able to pull in those high-end conjuration summons. So he has high enough Astral in both of those. He can hold a Meteorite coin if you struggle bust your way into it up to Astral 8. He has Righteous Wrath and Twist Fate for his Bless. Do note he is dormant. Twist Fate's not the best for the Giants, but this is going to help out our human troops quite a bit since they're likely to get squished by a lot of things. Being able to negate one is nice. A little bit anti-synergistic, I suppose, with Righteous Wrath, but let's be honest, Twist Fate, we're still going to have plenty of casualties. Righteous Wrath just helps out those humans a ton. 3 attack, 3 strength, and 6 morale is a lot of free stats for humans that are probably going to be dying anyways. This is just kind of incidental, though, because his main thing, like I said, he's focused on trying to get those high-end summons out. And he's just set up to natively be able to do that. So most of the game, he's probably sitting in the capital. He does have enough Fire and Astral that we could craft up to Fire 4 items. Could be pretty good there. High-end Astral items. Decent amount of research, nothing crazy. I'm just going to do those summons for you. I didn't love that. I thought that was a little boring. As cool as those summons are, I just feel that they're out of reach for us. Second, we have Son of Baif. This guy I liked a lot more. This is an Imprisoned, something I don't normally do too often. He's coming in with a big bless. I ended up with Fire 4, Earth 4, Astral 6, Nature 3, Glamour 4, Blood 4. Now, you could do this on a different chassis for sure. I just like the flavor here. You could do this, I guess, on a Sage, I suppose. Whatever. I like this chassis. He's coming in with good scales. So 6, I thought was a good place to be. We're going to need to spam temples, even though they're expensive. So I don't want to go super high on Dominion because then you waste it later in the game when you're temple spamming. But I did want it to be relatively high so I could get 6 people out. Remember that our very efficient researchers are sacred also. So they're going to take some of that sacred recruitment pool. Comes in with Order 2, Production 2, Heat 2, Growth 2, 1 Misfortune, and 2 Drain. You definitely could make your scales a little worse here and go even further in the Bless. I don't think that would even be terrible here. We went Righteous Wrath, Strength of the Earth. So Strength of the Earth, this is for the humans more than the Giants. This takes our sacred human troop up to, I believe, 15 damage. So again, we're not at that 16 magic, but that's going to help. Righteous Wrath will take us 3 more. So now we're up to 18 strength. Now we can actually kill line troops once we lose somebody. I'm trying out solar weapons. Solar weapons basically never proc for your Giants. If your Giants hit, they generally just kill. So that's a little bit of a waste there. But my worry was we had human troops with human damage and not having magic weapons. And I didn't want to pay for magic weapons since my Anakites already have magic weapons. So this was just kind of a middle ground choice for that. If we did have to fight Lemuria, this gives us that 4 AP damage that also does triple against undead and demons. And since we're not going to have the best mage core to counter Lemuria, I felt that this was a hedge pick. We took Enchanted Blood and Blood Surge and Heroism. The Heroism was mainly grabbed for our mundane researchers, just to get them to that 7 research even faster, but Heroism's just good. It's a nice one to have. If we can get a kill, we get the Blood Surge. 3 attack, 3 strength, 1 defense, 1 reinvigoration. If somebody is sacred and dies near us, we also get Righteous Wrath. So now we're looking at +6 attack and +6 strength, 7 with our Strength of Earth. Now our human troops can actually kill things. And getting all that +2 attack for our giants helps them repel like crazy against length 1 weapons and just guarantees that they're going to stab somebody every turn. One of their downsides is they have very low attack density, and so you want to make those attacks count. Blood Surge is mainly for the giants. This is what keeps them just a truckin', being able to just heal up. And having the extra magic resistance is not the worst thing ever. Overall, I felt that this was good. Again, this is a little outside of my normal wheelhouse. I don't normally go imprisoned. I don't generally go, I wouldn't even call this a Hell Blessed because I actually have scales, but you're going to need that. If you don't take, you probably can get away without the order, frankly. And you probably could take more misfortune, frankly, but you definitely need some production. Our giants are expensive. We're going to want to be pouring out some of the higher quality human troops if we can. So we're going to need it. We're also going to need money. So I took a lot of money stats here, and to counter the death from very hot, the growth will help with that a little bit. Also helps with the blood hunting if we do get some of that up and running. So Son of Baif is probably who I'm going to run on stream. I did like this build quite a bit, although I could definitely see we could go further into Misfortune. I don't think that would be the worst, especially if we keep the order, and we could add even more. I think we can go Misfortune 3 here, actually. I think, yeah, we can go to Misfortune 3 on this nation. So we could add 80 more points into the mix here and make our dudes even more ridiculous. We could add more strength from blood, or we could even just add some HP from blood. Wouldn't actually hurt us too badly. Just to give the humans a little bit more staying power. Could be something interesting. In conclusion, Late Age Gath is a fun nation that is actually not being talked about very much. When I did my research before I started my own play research, I actually didn't find a lot of people talking about Gath. In fact, the main thing people talked about was lowering them on the tier list because just no one's winning with them. From what I could find, they hadn't secured like any major wins of anything notable. I think some of that is probably just Dominion's 5 prejudice. They used to be very good, so I think people just beat up on them a lot. I think they've suffered some from the changes from 5 to 6. Having the ability to get more troops when most of your troops are kind of garbage and an okay giant troop isn't very helpful. We don't have the best mages, so we're not fielding like huge mage cores that are super duper effective, but they're a very fun nation. I did enjoy them quite a lot. They have a Recruit Anywhere Sacred. That's always a fun time. They have summons that they can actually do, which I always appreciate. And overall, yeah, an okay nation. I had fun with them in my test games. I definitely learned I like to get lots of forts up early if I can, but it's a struggle because, man, you are strapped for cash in the early game. Giants are expensive. Mages outside of our researchers are kind of expensive. Yeah, there's a lot to do here. So let me know what your favorite bless is here. Let me know if you think that blood is more viable than I'm giving it credit for. And let me know if you have any cool thug ideas. They have some interesting chassis I would love to be able to thug out, but I don't know. They just seem either expensive or a little on the weak side being a human. All right, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on it. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope I have earned your subscription this week. And if you'd like to go above and beyond, you can always leave a super thanks on the video. You can join me live on stream when we're playing this or something else for a super chat, or consider becoming a member of the channel. As a member of the channel, you get early access to videos, usually Dominions, but it can be other things. In addition, if you tie your Discord to your YouTube account and you're a member, you'll get access to a special channel where I share files, such as the Dominions island maps that we played on in the past, or things like blueprints from other games. All right, builders, get out there and rule the humans as a giant who is somewhat friendlier than they were in the past. All right, I'll see you on stream. Builders, Babel out.